Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Gerry, joined today by Terry and Sam Carroll of the Liverpool Echo. Gentlemen, this should be fun. We're doing a Worst of the Decade segment. It is still January. We're hitting that grace period for ... of the decade segments. So this is our worst signings of the decade. And I feel like, these guys have a little more insight because they actually have watched the entire decade's worth of Everton, whereas I have not. I'll be giving you about 2/3 of the decade because I don't want to put a name on my list that I didn't watch play. That's just nonsense. So I'm going to lead with Terry because I led with Sam last time. Do we want to go positionally and just kind of go round table, or have each of us say our team in full, make comments, and then rotate? What's the preference?
We do positionally, like defence, midfield, attack, goalkeeper, rather than like right back, left back, that kind of thing. By the way,
that sounds like a compromise.
The last 2/3 of the decade, you're still probably going to get everyone that we've got because it got worse as the decade went on. Like Moyes didn't especially buy many bad players.
Got you.
So you probably
exciting.
You'll have seen all these players, I'm sure.
Then I don't feel as bad. I felt ill-equipped. I want to make sure. All right, so let's begin with the defense, and that includes keeper. So Terry, what do you got, man?
Well, I went for a 3-man defence because I couldn't think of a fourth one that was more deserving than some others further up the pitch. So I've gone for Stecklenberg in goal. Goalkeeper was quite difficult because you don't get many. We've had literally Howard, Pickford, Robles, Stecklenberg, I think, and that's it. Like as proper first team keepers. And of that list, Stecklenberg was the worst. There's sometimes, I'm going to be quite harsh. I don't know how harsh Sam can be with his professional cap on, but I'm going to be terrible. I'm going to swear and everything. Basically, yeah, he's like a hologram sometimes, and he's had the odd good game like away at Man City, but other than that, he's just crap, isn't he? Like I don't know why he was getting on the bench ahead of Lossell. I'm not even sure Lossell's any good either, but he can't be much worse than Stecklenberg. So
all right, so that's.
Go on.
Sorry, keep going.
Go on.
No. I wasn't sure. You did that pause thing, and I wasn't sure if you were going to keep going with the rest of your defense.
I was going to ask, shall I keep going, or will you do your keep?
Yes, yeah. Yes. Keep going, man.
Okay, I've got a back three. Cuco Martina is the first one. He was going to be, if I did a flat back four, in the left back spot. He tried. He really did. No problem with his application or his attitude. He's just not a very good footballer. He was brought in for free to cover a position, and he's just not a Premier League player. Let's be honest. And when you look at the defenders bought across that 10-year period, Luke Garbutt just misses out. He was bought in 2009. Antonin Alcaraz, another hologram, waste of space, practically cost us our Europa League campaign in Martinez's second year by giving the goal away in the home leg against Kiev. And again, these are 3 free transfers. That's how bad they are as footballers, that I'm considering free transfers is awful. And another one who wasn't a free transfer, who's my top worst defender, Ashley Williams. Fella was an absolute idiot. He embarrassed the club on a continental level by, in a European game, starting a pointless fight with the Roma goalkeeper. It wasn't his fault the fan got involved, but getting himself sent off on purpose in other games. Every time he'd give a goal away, make a mistake, he'd just put his face in his shirt. The least professional player we've had in a long time. Come back to pre-season unfit and overweight. Absolute idiot. I've got no time for him whatsoever.
Okay. All right, Sam.
Yeah, a few positions that I couldn't quite get, to be honest. I don't really agree with Stecklenberg. I don't think since we've signed Pickford, he hasn't really played a game. So, neither here nor there with the goalkeeper. And the weird one for me is the Ashley Williams thing. I genuinely think in the first season, the Koeman is probably one of our better players in that season. which a lot of people forget because it just quite quickly went downhill the following season. Defenders I've got in so far. Kuko, unfortunately, just wasn't quite up to scratch, and then you can forget the Mangala loan deal as well, which just didn't go well at all, and Alcaraz as well. So, the Mangala one is one that sticks out for me. I remember thinking that maybe it could be a bit of a, I don't know. I thought at the time it might have been a bit of a masterstroke. You know, he had all the attributes that you'd kind of want in a top level centre back, and I kind of thought maybe we'd go back to the old days like Moyes, where you get your Arteta style player, your Pienaar, someone who had previously kind of been touted as going to be a top player and hadn't quite reached those expectations, but quite quickly went downhill with him. So, yeah, they're the three defenders I can kind of come up with so far. I suppose Terry has filled in the gaps a little bit as well, but yeah, difficult with defenders. We haven't really signed in the last 10 years awful defenders. Do you know what I mean? Some people might make points that we've maybe overpaid for a few, but it's definitely the attack in the midfield where we've wasted a lot of cash in the last few years.
Yeah, you guys pointed out by presenting your teams, my big dilemma when doing these is the fact that do you pick a player that we loaned that got hurt immediately and hardly played at all, but it was a loan? Or do you pick a player who actually had some decent games, but we paid money for and eventually became someone we just don't like? So it's weird. It seems like one costs more money, but on the other hand, may have actually put in more decent games. That's been my big dilemma, like between trying to pick some of these. I didn't pick a lot of loan players, just because I knew they'd go right back. And some of that was my reasoning for, I have the exact same people as Terry does for defenders.
Yeah.
Exact same three. Initially, I had Martina for left and right back. But I ended up making him more for a left back because the poor guy just had no left foot. So every single time he would make a run down the left, he'd have to cut back, use his right, cost time, and not actually get the cross off. Again, he did try hard. That's one of the things about some of these signings that we're going to be talking about later. Some of these players, I feel like we may have purchased, but just didn't get much of a chance.
Yeah.
Because, so we'll get there. But I had trouble because the keepers was the toughest thing for me. And I thought about Robles. I was like, no, he had some decent games, but the fact that I was thinking he was going to be heir apparent to Howard, and it didn't end up shaping up like that. I was disappointed, but then Steck came in, had a game or two, but then he was disappointing. Like, which one was the most disappointing? And I think I leaned on Steck for that, just because he is still here, and I don't know that he's up to scratch for being a Premier League backup still. I just don't know that he should be. So, anyway, Stecklenburg, Alcaraz, Williams, and Martina. That's my D. All right? And I got a funky formation. It's just a weird formation because I'm trying to fit in. Let's be honest, we signed more dud attackers than anything else. So that just kind of happens. So let's shift over to midfield. Terry.
Right, right midfield, I've got Aidan McGeady. Terrible player. Just a bad player. When you can't get in Roberto Martinez's team in the second and third seasons, I can't remember. There was a particular cup game, wasn't there, that he was absolutely. I can't remember who it was against, but I think even Martinez said to him, it came out eventually that when he said, "Why aren't I in the team?" and he'd say, "I can't remember the team." Say it was Gillingham. He'd just say Gillingham, because he was just a horrendous player for me. Left midfield, Yannick Bolasie. Now this one feels a little bit more harsh, but it's just a bad buy for the sense of we massively overpaid for him, because he was half decent at Crystal Palace, but he was never worth what we paid, £30 million. This is pre-Neymar deal inflation before the market went mad, so it was a lot of money then. And he ruptured his ACL within a couple of months, and he's never been the same player since. We've hardly got a lot of use out of him, and now he's on that sort of loan purgatory now, where he's probably just going to run his contract down. I don't have a problem with him I didn't think he was a bad player, but it's like £30 million on a player who you'd only get like 3 months out of before his career is done in by an injury, or his career is hampered a lot by an injury. So he's my left mid. Centre midfield, it kills me to do this one, but you just can't not have him. Davy Klaassen. He came with such hype. I was so excited for him. I championed him all season that year, and he just needs a chance. But a player who comes in and then 12 months later we have to make a loss on, and it is disappointing. And the centre midfielders, there was other midfielders who you might have put in there, but I just think, he came in with such hype, and physically I just don't think he could do it. I think he had the technical ability as a footballer. I think he still does, but he was just knocked off the ball too easily. He just wasn't a Premier League player, and it's just the biggest disappointment on my team for sure. And my last centre midfielder is a player who's still here, Morgan Schneiderlin. Can't stand.
I knew you'd go there. I knew you'd go there.
Sorry to the Morgan Schneiderlin fans, that both of yous. I'm just absolutely, I can't stand him. A player who we spent £20 million on and is on, a lot. He's on a lot of money. It's safe to say. Well, some of the numbers are probably wrong, but he's one of the higher earners, I'm sure. And the effort he puts in is just a season on season where he's letting people go past him so easily because he's not, fighting to get the ball. He's on the floor and he's not getting up quickly to close his man back down. I'm not a fan. I'll be happy the day we move him on, because I just don't see an Everton player in him. So he's got to be one of my worst buys, because he was brought in to be a key player in the team, and he's still here, and he's still letting us down in games now.
So I'm going to go ahead and jump in line, just because my team is almost exactly like Terry's, except I took Schneiderlin off my team only because of that first year. I'm just being hyper inconsistent, and I put Williams in my team despite his first year and left Schneiderlin out because of his first year. But yeah, I told you, funky formation. McGeady, Klaassen, Bolasie is my midfield. Makes no sense. I don't care. I just wanted to throw another attacker in my another forward in my formation, just because I don't know. We didn't get enough good time, good solid games out of the players that I have listed here. But yeah, I agree that Bolasie does feel harsh because of the injury, but and I think he actually follows the Toffee Blues, which so I'm just kind of like, oh no, but
he probably doesn't now. But sorry, Yannick.
Yeah, but at the same, and I actually was one of those who I didn't mind the signing. I felt like it was the beginning of the inflation period, but Terry, you're right, it was right before the big, So anyway, and I actually watched Davy Klaassen play for Bremen, like on Bundesliga, often, and he's not setting it necessarily on fire there either. So it does kind of tell you something. It was a big loss money wise on him. So Sam, who are your midfielders?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to disagree with what you have kind of been going along with. For me, the only story I can kind of go with on this is that I remember the day we signed Davy Klaassen, and me and my mate had gone to Vegas for our 21st, and I remember being like absolutely bladdered next to the pool, and my mate, it was 5 Liverpudlians, and me and my mate bought Everton, and I remember taking him to one side, and I was like, and he said, we've signed Klaassen and Pickford, and even though I'd never seen Klaassen kick a ball in my life, I took him to one side, and I was like, lad, I wouldn't say it to any of these, but I reckon we're going to win the league this season. And I was just convinced. I just thought after that last season at Rom that we'd signed the Ajax captain and England's future number 1, and I just couldn't see where we'd lose. I agree with McGeady as well. I think that's a great shout from Terry. I think you just forget how bad Aiden was for whatever reason. It just didn't happen. And another one who was sometimes a little bit, did question his kind of off-field attitude with some of the shapes you've seen him in, and also Scran and the Mackies the other week. and he's playing for Sunderland, didn't go down too well. Bolasie, I'd agree with Gerry in the sense that I think it's harsh. He was certainly not playing his best football when he got injured, but I just still love him for those first few games when him and Ron were just linking up so much they developed their own language. Can't quite remember what it was called, but I just remember that hysterical partnership, brilliant. And I always just kind of liked Yannick. He was one of my favourite players when he didn't play for Everton, so I'm not going to put him in. Ireland, difficult because he plays for Everton at the moment, and I just think just so much has happened in the last few years that's difficult to have seen. Again, as Gerry pointed out, I thought those first 6 months, I remember saying to my dad, this fella's the best centre mid I've ever seen. Don't care. But hasn't quite worked out that way, and I'm not really sure who else to kind of throw in there.
All right, let's move to attackers now. Terry, what do you got attackers-wise?
This one was probably the most difficult, not for lack of choice, but like who to include and why. So there's Sandro Ramirez. Like he wasn't brought for a lot of money, but he's reportedly on very big wages, and he's a player who we're never gonna see anything back for that. We were paying him a lot of money each week, and he's going out on loan like consistently to clubs who I'm sure can't afford to pay the lion's share of that contract. So we're probably still losing a fair whack each week, and unless he takes a massive drop in wages, which I wouldn't blame anyone for not doing, we're probably going to have to wait until his contract runs out to get rid of him. So not a big transfer fee, but a lot of money spent on a player who just hasn't worked in this league. So feel bad for him because he was a decent looking player before we bought him. Every club has these signings where everything looks like it's going to be great. He's cheap buyout clause. He's performing well in a decent league, young. Everything he doesn't look young, but he is. He's everything, all the boxes are ticked. Everything should work, but then it just doesn't happen. So it's unfair. I can't blame it, even though everyone, rightly so, loves to blame Walsh and Koeman. I can't blame them for Sandro. That one should have worked. It just didn't. But he's on the list. The man himself, Prince Umanias. he works his ass off. He's actually contributed to the team at times, but he is a horrendous footballer. I don't want to. I can't lose sight of the fact that he is a poor player, and we spent £14 million on him. I'm sure Russian news outlet were laughing or something when we bought him, or some source when we bought him said Everton have gone mad. And everyone at the time was like, what? He's meant to be good, this player. I'm sure I watched his YouTube highlights when we signed him, as you do. And one of his highlights is an own goal. So that was a sign of things to come. Just, good mentality, good work rates, been mistreated at the club in the past, but just for bad buys, he's got to be the worst, I think. For quality of player compared to price, awful. Then my third one, I was torn between two strikers. One was down the Mangala route, which was Lassina Traore. Came in, scored a goal, injured, never seen again. So that was a bit of a bubble burst. But then either him or Aruna Kone for a sort of better version of Nias, where not a good enough player, not an Everton player, but did work hard. Did score a few goals, but in fact, I'm going to go with Kone. He wasn't good enough. He was constantly injured. He was brought in to be the striker. Let's be honest. When Martinez came in, because Lukaku came in the same summer, but he came in on the deadline day, and I think it was Bill Kenwright who even said in an appearance later down the line, might have even been the end of season awards, who said he actually called Chelsea to see if they could loan Demba Ba, and Chelsea went, no, Butchers want to loan Lukaku. And Kenwright basically went, are you joking? So I think the Lukaku loan, total accidental Lukaku loan, saved our season, because we were planning on using Aruna Kone and Demba Ba as our two forwards. And that would have been a very different story. I don't think Martinez would have lasted 3 years without Lukaku. So I'm going to go with Kone. Traore just unlucky.
Gotcha. All right. Sam, who are your attackers?
Went a little bit left field for mine. Sandro Ramirez will obviously be in there. Another player who, funnily enough, that same summer was in Vegas. Then I was in Spain with my other mate a few months later when we signed Sandro. And every night they were playing La Liga goals on the telly. And he was banging them in from like 20 yards. And I just remember just being like, lad, 30 goals a season right there. Got the next big thing. And that never worked out. And then I've just gone for two just bad transfers that weren't particularly expensive, but Leandro Rodriguez, absolute terrible signing, awful. And then Shani Tarajai, who's on there on loan at FC Emmen this season, still an Everton player somehow, and I think as Terry pointed out before, what kind of rankles me is that when we signed him, he played for Switzerland in the Euros. This wasn't like a 2 or 3 year kind of project signing. He was a full international. And funny enough, last year I went to watch him 23 game where he was involved, and after the first half, and he quite visibly looked out of shape. And I kind of wrote just saying something along those lines, and got absolutely panned for it. And everyone was saying I was a bully. I think someone literally called me a bully of Shani Tarajai. So, Shani, I'm not a bully. I hope you have a long and successful career, but just not. It hasn't quite worked out for you at Everton, unfortunately.
Isn't he out of contract this summer, but he's on like a 2-year loan, or have I just got his contract wrong? Is he? What's going on?
Some kind of vagueness to that. I'm not quite sure. Probably something I need looking into.
Yeah, it was really weird. I had forgotten about because I remember him playing in the Euros, and I actually thought he looked good. I thought he was playing quite well in that tournament, and I was really excited about him coming. I totally forgot about him. I think I would have included him. Totally forgot about him. I did include one of the more mystifying signings for Everton that I could think of. You mentioned him, Leandro Rodriguez. That was a weird one. That was a very, very strange transfer. The transfer fee was small. The way Martinez kind of built him up like he was going to be like this really great finisher. He just needed to bed in, have some more time. And he got to play. He actually got to play some. I feel like it was a cup match he got to play in. And just, you couldn't tell what was going to go on with this guy. And then there was these rumors of him being homesick. And then all of a sudden he's off to Belgium. And it was just the weirdest transfer. It was so strange him to come out of Uruguay. It was just the weirdest thing, man. So Leandro Rodriguez was one that I like to reference in terms of out of nowhere signings for Everton. I got to put Sandro on there. Sandro, I got to be honest, I was a believer. I was drinking Sandro's Kool-Aid. I was all about it. I thought he was just like you said. I mean, he was hammering them in from outside the 18. I was like, this is going to be amazing. They've brought in I was so excited about Sandro. I feel so ashamed. So yeah, he's on my list. And then to round it out, because I'm the genius who has 4 strikers on his team. Yeah, I've got Kone and Nias. But it was a grapple because Lassina Traore I thought deserved mentioning. And you know what? It sounds jerkish, but because of the larger transfer fee, I feel like some discussion and the fact that he's not been sold yet at all, I feel like you have to at least mention Cenk Tosun. I like him. He works hard. I think he's a great attitude, and I think he can provide goals for a team out there. It may even be Palace. We'll see. But does not work for what we're trying to do. Has not really had a hugely extended run in the team because typically the managers have looked for something different in that position. And I don't know that we're going to get I don't know if we're going to get anything near. I guess it depends near what we paid. It depends on what happens at Palace. So I'm not willing to put him on the list yet. No. But at least I think he's worth mentioning.
No, I don't even think he's worth mentioning. He's got no business being on that list. Look at the companies around there. He doesn't fit what we're trying to do now, and it was an ill thought out signing. But that's Gerry, for someone who's so level. That's incredibly harsh on Tosun, I think.
I'm telling you, if I look at how much was paid for him and what we end up getting for him, that's one of the things I'm judging on this. Davy Clausen, what did we pay for Davy Clausen, and what did we get back for him? That and how many games did he play for us? Not much, right? So that ends up being a bad signing based on that logic. When it's all said and done, if we end up getting close to what we got for Davy Clausen, I feel like it has to be part of it. You know, I like him, and again, he has scored some goals, and I think he works his socks off when he plays. But because of the big investment, yeah, man, that's the only reason. He's not on my list, but he made my, big list from which I was pulling, you know? So, yeah, it's and I don't like saying it, you know. I like the guy a lot, and I really wanted him to work. And who knows, maybe one day he may still even work for us, but not with this setup. So, yeah, Terry, I hear you. It pained me, okay? But if I'm going to be at least slightly consistent, I have to consider him in the same Clausen vein, which it may be. We'll see. So, anyway, I hope he goes to Bundesliga and scores 40 a year. That's what I hope happens. Because I think it's feasible, but yeah. All right. Anything else? Anybody who deserves an honorable mention that we haven't mentioned?
I think Mackay Gay is breathing a sigh of relief, isn't he? He just snuffed.
I didn't get to watch him play very much, to be fair. So yeah,
wasn't very good.
All right. So we've named them all. Interesting. Okay. Well, I guess that's it for our worst in the decade segment. Now that Terry considers me an irrational bastard. It's the first time. All right. The fact that it's taken him this long to figure it out. So yeah. Anyway, that's it for our worst of the decade segment. If you're digging the videos, please subscribe to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel. We'd really appreciate it. If you want more Terry, go out of your door and hug the bearded man that stands in front of you. It will be Terry, always. The bespectacled bearded man. And he's not just playing around with his beard anymore. He's actually taking it seriously, all right? He's made a beard commitment. So, yeah, just letting you know, check that out. It should happen. Keep an eye on his Twitter. He'll tell you when and where he's going to be. Places like the Liverpool Echo fan jury or your driveway. One of the two. So that's all I got on Terry. For Sam, Liverpool Echo. Who will, check his Twitter. He'll tell you when and where. He's got some stories dropping there. He does a lot of content. And if he ends up showing up on podcasts and the like, I'm sure he'll publicize that there as well. Okay? That's it. No more video segments for this particular session. If you want to keep listening, if you want to continue the journey, check out our podcast. We've got a quiz between these guys. If You Know Your History is the name of our quiz segment, so you can go over there. These guys are going to be trying to name the starters and subs from a match from the past. And that is the only spoiler I'll give you. So there's that. If not, we'll miss you. I'm not going to do it, Terry. You thought I was going to go tear, but I didn't. All right. That's it. Much love, everybody. We'll see you soon. Bye.